We are live. Welcome, 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 one and all. In case you are confused and wondering who I am, my name is Antonio Bryce. I am the creator of the comic book series Brand. We are currently on Indiegogo and have raised nearly $74,000 thanks to the kindness of good folks such as yourself. Actually, if you want to check out Brand, you can read the first 21 pages of the comic for free. I've got a link in the description, or you can type in akaripress.com. It'll take you right there. You can just click on the link and download that little PDF. And if you like it, throw some support behind it. But I have another fine indie comic creator here today. He's got a project that is currently funding on Kickstarter, and it is called BRIC-A-BRAC, a fantasy Christmas story. It looks really interesting. And so I spoke to this gentleman and said, hey, why don't you come on? Let's talk about your project. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ryan Haack.
Hey, guys. Yeah, it's Haack. It's pronounced Haack. But
Haack.
Yeah.
It's Haack. Oh, okay, Haack.
Yes.
It's like, okay, Haack. Okay, so
Yes.
you're not a hack. You're a Haack.
No, exactly.
Ryan Haack.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to my channel.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
All right. So let's talk about your book, brother.
For sure.
With it, because it looks really interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of weird having a Christmas book in September. I know it is. But, I was thinking about getting the books out and, how it'll, come out in December or maybe January, the printed book. So it just kind of, there's also another Kickstarter project that has to do, it's called like The List, I think. It's pretty cool. It has like Santa Claus, but he saves kids and stuff like that. And it's like a action adventure book. So that also came out in September and launched a couple days after mine. So it's pretty interesting how, I guess this is the time, apparently, for Christmas books to just launch and get out there, which makes sense because, production time takes a while. So
speaking of which, it looks like you're doing quite a bit on this book. What all are you doing?
Well, I am the writer of the book. I am just the writer of the book. The artist of the book is by the name of Raphael. I'm the creator and writer. The artist is by the name of Raphael Sam. He's a beast. He's a complete beast. He's a Brazilian comic book artist, and he has successfully funded a bunch of Kickstarters on Catharsis, which is a different, completely different than Kickstarter. It's similar to Indiegogo more so. I guess it's used in like South America and maybe Europe. It's a kind of a different crowdfunding concept than Kickstarter, but he's very successful on that. And he has a book called Black Desert on there, and The World of Z, another book that he did. And he is just unbelievable. He is a monster. He's a beast, and his Instagram is great. And I just reached out to him about a year ago and said, hey, I see this story and us making something together on ArtStation. I messaged him, and he responded, luckily, and we've been working at this for a while, kind of trying to get it together, and me working with him on the story. And he doesn't speak English primarily, so he does translate a lot of my stuff, and I try to translate my things to get to him in a very simple way. But I think, in fact, that makes our process way more unique and interesting, because he takes things, he adds little details that I've never thought of before. He is just so creative with making things look beautiful, essentially. As you can probably see from the pages, like they're like unbelievable. I'm so happy to.
One thing I would say is I noticed when you contacted me the other day and I started looking at the book, it kind of has a Scotty Young I Hate Fairyland type vibe to it.
Yeah,
for sure. I looked at now, and I love Scotty Young, so I was like, oh, okay. Who's doing your colors? Nice colors on these pages. It's very simple but nice. I like the way the colors enhance the art.
Yes.
So I don't know is he coloring the art as well?
He did everything. He's a beast.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, he is a beast.
Yeah, because I was looking at it in very beautifully colored.
Yeah, he is a total beast. There's no doubt about it. He is probably one of the hardest working artists I've ever worked with in my life. He's a total monster, and he just has this Instagram where he draws. I don't think he takes commissions, but he draws all kinds of cartoon characters. You know, I mean, it's just such a joy to be able to work with a guy who works at that kind of level. You know, I mean, I write, and you know, I can't draw, you know, but this guy is just a beast. So he's truly, you know, just without him, this project wouldn't happen either. You know, I mean, the idea is mine and the creations are mine, but I mean, he's a huge part to this project.
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing. It's kind of similar to like doing brand. You know, I came up, all the ideas are mine, but when I talk to Kanan about what I'm seeing in my head, he takes that and interprets it in a different way, and a lot of times it's better.
Yeah,
so I was
for sure.
oh, okay, I got you. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just been so awesome for this book to like just get out there. And I mean, it's everything I've ever wanted to say about Christmas. You know, I mean, it just feels so good to have this out there and be able to create something that I think is meaningful. You know.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. I'm assuming these are all screenshots from his page. I'm assuming.
Yeah, those sketches are actually from that's him right there.
Yeah. That's what I was like.
He's a beast. But those sketches are from a year of us, you know, talking about, okay, these are the characters that are going to be in the book, and you know, these are, you know, there's going to be the Ghost of Christmas Past, the Present, Future, Later. There's going to be Father Christmas, of course, Jack Frost, all these Nutcracker, essentially stormtrooper people. You know, they're gonna be in this story, and you know, we've just been cooking this up for a long time, and it's just really cool that it's finally here. You know, it's right here. You know?
Let me ask you this then, because I see you're trying to raise $6,500. You've got 4 days to go. Let me see. You're at $1,717. So I know that you can get a nice little bump at the end there on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what do you want to ask?
What I was wanting to ask is, how long have you been? You say you guys been going on for like a year, planning and everything, but
oh yeah.
About how far into the book is your artist?
The book is about 20% done. So that's
Okay.
why it's a huge amount of production going on, but the story is completely done. I mean, the story has been done for a long time, but the book, you know, Raphael is a guy who he makes his own creations too. So he you know, he needs, as you probably know, with brand, like it costs a lot of money to make these things, and you know, so but I pay. You know, we worked out 20 to 25% of the book already done. The cover's done. And the scripts for all 3 issues are done. But
let me ask you this: it looks like he's a digital artist. He's not working traditionally.
No, he's not. He doesn't work traditionally now.
I was like, that's a shame, because some of those pages are really nice.
Yeah, I know.
Really nice looking. I was like, that would be, you could offer that as a perk.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that like buying original comic art, and like I said, he has like a kind of a Scotty Young type vibe, and I'm a big fan of his. So I was like, man, it'd be nice to get a page of that or something.
Yeah, maybe next time we'll think about like he might do a commission or something like that of a character or something like that. Because yeah, he does do digital, but it would be dope if we could get him to just he I mean, of course he draws on paper, so but half of his like he needs the thing about his artwork is that it's so connected to digital, because there's so many effects on those pages, if you look, that like they wouldn't be able to happen without a computer, you know. So it's like, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's like, it's just so beautiful that I'd rather have it look amazing than, but I do have a heart love for actual pages, you know. Of course, that's how comics came to be. So you know, it's just,
well, I would say in my experiences working with Kanan, when we offered the original art perk, even though he's a digital artist.
Yeah.
So what we came up with was, we were like, look, okay, I can sell the pencils, and then you can just scan the page and then go in and ink it digitally. So he'll get his pencils and everything, you know, real tight, and he'll scan it, and he'll go in and digitally go in, and then he can add all that extra little starbursts and all the little things he adding that he loves to do. But in a sense, one thing I didn't anticipate is because he's only, when he's doing the work digitally, it still takes the time to create the page. But now it's taking him, it's like doing 2 pages. So if he draws the page and he's got to scan it and he's got to ink it and, do all that extra. Because once he gets in the ink stage, it's even more detail. So it's like what I didn't anticipate. It was like, because we sold like 13 pages. So it's like he had to draw those 13 pages twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it was hard to come up with perks, but then I was like, wait, it's a Christmas story. Like, of course, there's so many easy little things you can make for people. So that's why there's ornaments and holiday cards and, that kind of stuff in the rewards. It's like just kind of messing around with the creativity you really can have. I mean, it's based on a holiday that is celebrated by so many people. Of course, there are a lot of creative things you can make other than just a, poster or a pinup or, I was thinking, there's totally like 100 things you could do. So the rewards were kind of fun to come up with.
Well, let me see. Let me ask you, how many pages is BRIC-A-BRAC?
It's the first part of a 3-part story. So this is a 30-page comic book, 30-page comic book for this first part, and then the second part might be 40 pages, and the third part also might be 40 pages. So We're just kind of working it out, and it is an epic story. It is definitely inspired a little bit by Star Wars, and then also a little bit by the visuals of Nightmare Before Christmas, or those kind of amazing, very aesthetic kind of movies that are kind of culty as well. It's very inspired by just that feel, that happiness and joy kind of feel, but also there's a lot of dark tones in the book. It's a lot about this grappling with the Christian Christmas and then the Santa Christmas, and like how they're in a war with each other. It's like people who celebrate the Christian Christmas and the Santa Christmas want to battle sometimes, or and they don't agree with things, and it's a little bit about how Christmas, we speak of it as a harmonious time, but it can also be a time where people just don't want to some people hate Christmas. I've tried to advertise this campaign to people, and they've been like, I hate Christmas. I don't want any part with this, and it's a really touchy thing because Christmas is so a time that if you have bad feelings with it, the hyper excitement of everything makes you nervous or makes you hate it, or it's like Christmas is it can be a taboo sometimes, so this book is totally about that idea. It's so it's everything I've ever wanted to say about Christmas, because I've always felt it was such a special time, but also for some people it's a dreadful time. So let's depict a war on a planet Christmas and see what is that like? It's not harmonious. It is a war. It's it's a G-rated book, but it's got a lot going on, and there's a lot of themes that are adult. And so it's an epic book. It's an epic book. Yeah.
So let me see here. I'm looking at your rewards here, and you've got. Here's the first one. It's called Stocking Stuffer.
Yeah.
So it's like pledge $5 or more, and you get a digital copy of BRIC-A-BRAC. How did you come up with that name?
There's a song in The Nightmare Before Christmas that it's called Jack's Obsession or something like that, and he's pontificating about, oh my God, Christmas, I just can't understand this concept, but I'm so obsessed with it. And bric-a-brac is a term that basically means something that's worthless, or something that's just junk. And a lot of people look at Christmas as like Christmas objects like Santa or, stockings or, eggnog and crap like this that's not affiliated with Jesus at all as bric-a-brac, it's stupid, it's worthless. And so I wanted to name this book that because, it's kind of just saying, hey, is it bric-a-brac? Does it have value? Does it, so it's just about that. This book is so much about that argument of what can Christmas, can people come to agreement on what Christmas is, or are we always gonna have a war about this beautiful holiday? Like, why can't we just celebrate it?
Oh well, yeah, but Christmas is the time to get presents. Isn't that what Christmas?
Yeah,
is?
right. And so see, it's also that too. It's like so with the presents too. It's like, is that bric-a-brac? Is that just worthless stuff? Because some people totally feel that way, and then other people don't. So it's just it's a title that I just fell in love with because it's also really fun. It's like,
well, like I said, I'm looking at the art, and like I said, it's really, really beautifully colored. Nice. I mean, this kind of has, more of it kind of Bigfoot Bill. I got the Bigfoot Bill, the book.
Oh
from
yeah.
It kind of had the same kind of vibe.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's a beast.
Yeah, just kind of like real, like simple but clean. I just like the way this is illustrated, and I like the way it's colored, and that's amazing that he's drawing this and coloring it at the same time.
Exactly. It's his true talent. I honestly think that like he's gonna get picked up by a company. I'll never be able to complete the story. Sometimes it's like, no, I don't want that to happen because he's just so amazing. So that's why I'm pushing as hard as I can right now. It's like, now is the time. I'm not letting this go. I know I'm at only 30%, but I'm going ham. Gonna go as hard as I can. And yeah.
All right. So we see. I'm seeing the chat is folks are coming in, and looks like people. You got people talking about Christmas, which is funny. Yeah, that's funny. But I mean, hey, the book's about Christmas, so that's actually, if they were talking about the games last night, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah, right.
Did you watch Sunday Night Football last night?
Yeah, that would be a little weird.
I did watch Sunday Night Football last night, but oh man, that was okay. And how about them Cowboys? Let me see. But let's see.
Like Kanye, I mean, honestly, I thought, because when Kanye drops, it's like, is that going to be? Are people going to be more focused on his drop than my book? It's like, man.
Yeah, well, like Kanye's been doing this Sunday service thing, so
yeah, it's like we know he has something. Why doesn't he just do it, man? Actually, he should retweet my project and then drop it with now.
That would be interesting to get, because he's got what 20 million people, 30 million people following him on Twitter. So yeah, like, or you get like that. Well, I'm about to say I know his wife has got like about 100 million. I mean, it's crazy, especially on her Instagram. She's got like, her Instagram's crazy. So I was like, I would wonder how stuff like that. The reason I say that is because there was someone I had on a few weeks ago, and they had been, they were trying to promote on Twitter, and they were like tagging everybody, and they were tagging like Ethan Van Sciver, they were tagging John Malin and different people, like, hey, will you retweet the book, blah, 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 blah. And finally, Ethan retweeted the campaign, and I said, did you get any sales? And he said, I got one.
Oh.
So, well, I mean, he got one. That means it worked.
Honestly, man, it goes down in the DMs, man. Like, you have to just go ham and just ask people personally, hey, this is what I got, and please, it's worth your time. Like, and you're gonna get told, stop spamming me. You're gonna get told, why would you do this to me? You don't even know what my work is like. It's hard. It's gonna take some of your soul, but you got to go ham. If you believe in your project, go down in the DMs and do it. Just go ham.
Here's the thing, and I was actually talking before we went on the air. I was on the phone with my buddy Elliot Fernandez, the jerk monger.
He's a beast.
He's doing. I've got 6 variant covers for my follow up to brand. It's called Way of the Gun, and he's doing one of the 6 covers.
Yeah.
Him and Ethan Van Sciver, Matthew Weldon, and
for sure.
Rob Willis, and 2 covers from Kanan. And but Elliot was, I was telling him, I was like, there was a guy, it was a few weeks ago, and he slid into DMs. He was like, hey, Antonio, big fan of your book, blah, 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 such. And he said, he sent me his campaign. He's like, I'm trying to promote. I was like, okay. I mean, if as long as you're not a jerk, and I think the book looks okay, I pretty much, that's the thing. You know, I'll promote a Kickstarter. I'll promote Indiegogo. I'm just trying to do stuff about comics.
Yeah,
period.
the good work.
That's what it is. It's about the comics for me. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to, cure cancer here. This is about.
That's honestly what I've been doing too. I mean, knowing where I am right now with the campaign, I still think Kickstarter would be better because there's that incentive that I was talking to you about, that incentive that has worked for me before. But, I do want to work with Indiegogo at one time.
That's what I'm about to say. You've got 4 days left. I would actually say, if you don't fund, take a shot and launch it on Indiegogo and see if sometimes a chain of venue is really effective.
For sure. I'm going to push, but I
hopefully you get funded right here, and then you don't have to. This particular brand campaign is my third one, so I failed twice. So,
oh really? It did?
Yeah. The first time I was on Indiegogo, $95 on the 60-day campaign. The second time I went over to Kickstarter, and we got up to within the first few days I'd done about $330. But at the end we got up to about 1,800, and I was trying to raise like 20 grand. It was nowhere near. And so
I've seen ones like that. Damn,
at that point, I got the DM from Ethan Van Sciver, and he was like, hey, he said, you're not going to get funded anyway. He said, why don't you cancel that and relaunch it again on Indiegogo? So all of a sudden I was like, and I was having to go. I was still working at Amazon. I worked for Amazon for like 7 years, and I was still working for Amazon. So I was having to rush home from my job, and I sit there and retype the page and putting the perks back up. I was like, oh, I gotta get it done because Ethan's gonna let me launch on Saturday. Blah blah blah. I got to get everything ready and set up. And I was checking, and I made all these mistakes, and then I had to take stuff down. It was crazy. But I finally got the page set up the right way, and that's. One of the things I messed up with, like, I'd have the book and I didn't have the shipping set up. So like anybody would, you get slaughtered like that. It's like, oh my.
On this book, U.S. shipping is free. So that's a big thing.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. U.S. shipping is completely free. And then everything else outside is like Canada, I think is $8, and then UK is 10, and then everywhere else is 18, because last time I had a huge difficulty, sending things to Germany or France or Portugal, and stuff like that. So, U.S. shipping is free because it is a 30-page comic book. It's not like it's going to be a huge expense to send it or anything like that. So it was cool to kind of be able to do that for people. I don't know if everyone notices it is free shipping, and I think that might be why. I mean, I have 100 backers, but the average pledge is less than 20. So, that is what is really killing me. I probably would be at 60% if, I had an extra $10 on shipping. But that's okay. You live and learn. But
that's the thing. I really would like to see this get funded. Let me see. Let's see. I'm on. Your next perk is pledge $9 or more. It's called the Nutcracker Suite. And it says that you'll get Ryan's entire catalog of comics in digital PDF format by pledging to this tier. And so you're getting BRIC-A-BRAC 1 and your name on the thank you page and a digital PDF of the unspeakable text. What's the unspeakable text?
Well, that was a campaign I launched in June of last June, and it's basically, it's this comic book series that I had on Instagram. Basically, I reached out to artists and we made these 3-page horror stories, or thriller stories / sci-fi dark, horror, dark comedy, I guess you could say, and like. There are these 3-page stories, and I just kept reaching out to artists and putting them on its Instagram page, and because I didn't know how to format things to webtoons because it's a pain in the ass. And so I got kind of a following on the Unspeakable Text page, like 1,000 followers or something, nothing crazy. But like, I was like, I have 12 stories. We're going to put it in a collection, and that's what the Unspeakable Text is. So I got it successfully funded, and that was my first ever Kickstarter. And like I said, it was the one that kind of showed me, hey, Kickstarter is pretty cool for new people who, they need that extra push or they need that extra 1,000 on the last day. Like, and it really came in clutch for me when I was literally at 2,000 and my goal was 3,010. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And bam, I got there last day and I'm here to sell the sale. So it's like, yeah, so Unspeakable Text was just a totally fun kind of story to work on because it was in different time periods, sci-fi stories, Western stories, every kind of fun little short story ever. And the beauty of it is, when you ask an artist, hey, can you just do 3 pages with me? It's a collaboration. They don't really, it's for fun. It was totally for fun. So that's the cool thing about it is like, I just, it was completely for fun. I didn't have to pay anyone to do anything. It was a collaboration in its truest form. And it was a beautiful thing. Yeah, I love that project. And we're working on 2. So that'll come out next summer, I think.
Well, let me go to the chat because let me see. Fatty057. I think that's Michael. Is that you? I'm still trying to remember where I know you from. I'm trying to remember. I know you're very familiar to me for some reason. But anyway, he says to get it on Indiegogo and I will back. And here's the thing. With a lot of these creators and these projects, sometimes you only have one shot. So I would encourage.
Yeah, this might be it.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, if you believe in the project, if you're looking at what I'm showing here and you like it,
Yeah, the thing is, man, I'm in school right now, and this has been really hard already. I mean, it's a blessing.
Running a campaign takes a lot. That's especially when I was still working at Amazon and we had the brand campaign going up. It was kind of hard because I was able to get more work done on the days I was off.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, so I got to work and then I got to come home and try to answer people's emails and do things and make videos and do, just trying to do anything to promote. It's a lot of work.
Exactly.
So I was like, I hate to see projects like this fall through the wayside. But I do think if I think you'd have a little success if you launched it. Because like I said, it looks like the pages and everything are really, really cool looking. I think you'd have some success on Indiegogo, but I don't see why you get funded on Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to push. I'm going to go ham like that Kanye and Jay-Z song, and go ham and get it funded, man. I'm not taking no for an answer. It's going to happen. But, just have to kind of go crazy. And thankfully, it's a holiday, so I've been in my room all day, not having to go to school and trying to get it going. So yeah, but if you do have the chance to back it, I would say you should because I'm not coming back. I don't think on Indiegogo because it's an incomplete story, and people have told me maybe. I don't know if it's going to be a reality, to be completely honest. If I don't have. Because I think Indiegogo, if I don't reach all my money, if I don't get all my money, I don't think it's going to be a possibility to even fulfill rewards. So it's just like that's truly why I chose Kickstarter too. I need the security of not promising people false things. That's ultimately the reason why I like Kickstarter right now. And I apologize if I get that there's drama with that idea, but like. That is truly the main reason why I made the decision. Because I live, in New York, and it's hard. I'm, trying to make ends meet, and I could not get out of pocket.
Well, let me just from my personal experience. I've been Comicsgate for a couple of years now, and I was Comicsgate, and I put the project on Indiegogo, and I just didn't there was no push behind it, and $95 on the 60-day campaign. I was still Comicsgate even though I didn't get funded. So then I went to Kickstarter, and like I said, that first 2 days, but they had me in the new. That's one thing Indiegogo does this too. But like when you launch a campaign, they go new campaigns, when they put you in that new campaign spotlight, you get so many more eyes on the project. So all of a sudden, in like a 24-hour period, I had raised over $200, and I was like, I think this is going to go better this time.
Yeah.
I got all excited, but they only leave you up there for like 3 days or 4 days or whatever. So once they take you off, it's like wah, wah, you know, and the campaign just goes. It goes.
It's like you become an old man. Like,
Them putting you in the new listing section is like shooting you up with steroids.
Exactly.
And once they take you off steroids, you get a reality check. It's going 3, 4, 5 days, and nobody's buying the book, and you're like, oh damn, okay, that's not good. And I would have people email me. That's why it's like I have no problem showcasing Kickstarters on this channel, as long as, like I said, it's the Comicsgate principle. You're not out there calling fans names and blocking people, and there's like you're treating people with respect, and the book looks good. I don't have a problem showcasing the Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I know others disagree with that, but my thing is I would get emails, and like I said, I was still Comicsgate, and the book was up there, and nobody was helping, and then a couple of people, a gentleman by the name of Dave, Geek Out Loud on Twitter. He's one of the artists on Tales from the Stacks, which is on Indiegogo now, with Professor Geek. And I know Kyung Lee is doing that, and it's got like a John Malin cover and all this. But he was one of the people. I was on Kickstarter, and he was like, why isn't anybody getting behind this project? And he was like tweeting everybody, like Umbrella Guy, Weaponized Nerd Rage, Ethan Van Skyver, Mike S. Miller. He was tweeting everybody, trying to get anybody to see. And I noticed that's was what happened with Brand. You just had a couple of people that were dedicated, that were just fans, that didn't know me from Adam, and just like, this project looks cool. But I started getting people emailing me. He's like, hey, well, if you get funded, I'll think about backing you. And I would always email them back. I was like, if you believe in the project, I need you to back now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same with me right now.
Don't wait. That was
this might be it.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, if you look at what you're seeing and you like it, don't be like, well, if he gets funded, if he's close, I might consider all this kind of thing. Because that's the thing. Apathy ruins more crowd funds. It's like, like people just being apathetic to the process. You're like, yeah, well, you get closer to your goal, I might buy a book or two.
It's like my friends and all my family are already sick of me listening to Christmas music, and it's a very timely thing, as you guys understand. And then it's also a very expensive thing. I worked really hard to, work with Raphael out and make these pages and get them done. But I can't promise I'll be back with this story. This might be it, if and I don't. It hurts me to say that, so that's why I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. We're going, and we're gonna get it funded. So, but if you guys are hesitating, and because it's not Indiegogo, I'm just telling you, this might be it. This might be the last opportunity. So anyway.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. And there's a couple more people I saw on Kickstarter that have some really cool looking projects that I'm trying to get to come on. There was one that's like a blind archer that looked really cool. That was
my God. What is that?
I can't. Oh, so you've seen it? Because I was like,
probably. I've been, yeah.
I was like, why wouldn't I have? I'm just trying to talk about cool comic books. I don't care if they're on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, as long as the creators aren't dicks.
Yeah.
So like, if that's the thing, I'm just telling you, just from my own personal experience of struggling and not being able to get funded. If you believe in the project, if you think this looks cool, you think, hey, maybe you got a son or a daughter, and you might want to, read this to them, because, like I said, this looks like it's obviously, as he said, G-rated. These are kid. There's not a lot. My book is not kid friendly. Hey,
kid, read the Brand with a prostitute.
You got people getting their heads chopped off and all kind of stuff. That's what, you got a pimp with a magic cane.
Yeah, that's but hey, the art is dope. It's a good looking book though, so that's at least educational.
But it was a good looking book and nobody bought it. I'm telling you, because like I said, I was when I did the stream yesterday. I was talking to the gentleman, and the thing that I kept saying is, like, I had the other artist that Kanan wasn't able to do the book.
That's right. I think you were telling Gilly that Gilbert, I was watching your guys' Galactic. Because I love Grom, man. That book, that's a special thing, man. So yeah, I heard you.
Speaking of Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, Gilbert Deltrez tweeted this out earlier today, but and he showed the layout that I sent him. He had reached out to me, and we have decided to do a cover. He's going to have a very special variant cover done by Kanan White that will feature the characters of Brand and his Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh, no, the cover that Kanan is doing is badass. And
dude,
because Gilbert was like, I want your take on it so you can do whatever you want. And I had an idea for the cover that I wanted if I was going to use his characters. So I told Kanan my idea, and he did some tweaks on it. And I mean, because I was like, I want like all the big players in Brand. I want David, I want Penance, I want Dawn, and I want Morgan. And then I want his characters like, and I want them to like be looking at each other like, who are these guys? I was like, it's just crazy. I want them to kind of be, and Kanan's working on that cover now, and it looks really cool. So, I think Gilbert's about 50% funded, and I know he's got like 19, 20 days to go. I think.
Oh, dude, he's gonna make it, man.
Yeah, I think so. Because the book looks great, and there's a lot of people. It's more about getting the eyeballs on it. But like I said, this book looks great. There's a few projects on Kickstarter like I said, I can't remember the one with the. Is it
fantasy or action adventure or
I can't remember. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Night Hunters? No.
I mean, you'll see it.
I don't know.
He's got these glasses. It's a black dude. He's a blind archer, and I was like, like I said, I want to have that guy on. I want to, leave the writer on because, like I said, he's on Kickstarter, but that book looks dope.
Yeah, dude. There's so many. I mean, this is the time, man. This is a new era of. I mean, people are. Any platform. I mean, this is such an exciting time to crowdfund. Doug TenNapel, I know he's got some beef going on right now, but like that guy, he did something for all of us, and same with Ethan. They created something for us that is amazing, I mean, this is a new opportunity and new real estate for creators that, I mean, we should really be, just so appreciative of them, like that with their record-breaking crowdfunding for comics. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just going to keep pushing as hard as I can and for every of my projects. And it's a beautiful time. And, people like Gilly and, I mean, Von Klaus,
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, Monster MD and then Shinobi Sasquatch. I mean, those books are off the chain. I mean, they are of another quality. Like, they're up with the Grey Capullo. They're even higher than that in some respect. I mean, you look at the art and Monster MD, man, it's better than Batman Last Night on Earth. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I would rather look at, although I love Grey Capullo, it's like, oh man.
Too, yeah.
This book is dope, and it's the fact that Von Klaus is an independent creator. Grey Capullo has been working in the industry for years. Scott Snyder has gotten to write all the books ever. It's like, hey, they're great, but they've kind of outdone their stay. But like Von Klaus, man, he deserves all that he's getting. So that's why it's dope that
over $60,000 raised for Monster MD, and I was happy to back that book. It was cool, I really and I had Vaughn on, and it was a fun conversation. He's really like I said, I'm trying to get together like this big comic panel of guys, and he's one of the ones that I wanted to have back because he's a lot of fun. Got to have Mandy Summers back and some of these.
Oh, I love her too. Yeah, her book is live right now.
What? Yeah, I love Mandy. Mandy's cool, and she's been on a couple times. I want to have her back on. Just like I said, a lot of these people I've met in the community are just really fun, and they're just everybody's stuff is different, and it's just that's the beauty of comics. I'm not trying to, like I said, vote with your wallet. If you think it's good, don't wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, man. It's a beautiful time to be in comics right now, in indie comics. I mean, kickstarting, it's hard. It's hard as hell, especially those last 10 days. But, man, it's so worth it, though, at the end. It really is. It really is worth it. So, and it's the only way you can get your stuff out. It's like these people in comics industry, they don't want you to take their job because it's their job. It's kind of like someone working at a restaurant. It's like, I don't want you to take my job. Yeah, and it's the same thing here. They don't really want to help you get there. You know, to be the Batman writer, it's a coveted job, but it's also a paycheck. You know, because they're just making ends meet too. You know, it's not like James Tynion. You know, he's not getting paid $1 billion to write Batman. He's just making it.
Pretty good though.
Yeah, he is getting paid pretty good, but at the same time, he wants that job. He wants to keep that job. So,
yeah, absolutely. But
the thing is, it's not like the '90s where they're willingly open to let you get into the industry. There's gatekeepers, and in fact, honestly, they're not looking for you to get in. And that's something I had to come to grips with when, last year and even this year, like I was like, you know what, F it, I'm not going to submit anymore. I'm done with trying to email constantly these artists and writers that I admire. I'm just going to do an independent book. And like, that's the badass motherfucker attitude that every comic book writer, artist, anybody needs to have right now. I mean, this is the opportunity. Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they are offering it to you for free. So take it, take it and take it as hard as you can, because this is your time. It's a revolution, man. It really is.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, man, I just love the medium of comics and these kind of books. I would read some of the more serious stuff, and then I would read books like this. Because, like I said, I like the illustration style here. I'm surprised your artist is from Brazil, because I see a lot of American artists that were like influenced by like Calvin and Hobbes and stuff like that have this kind of style. But like I said, it kind of, like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Scotty Young. I hate Fairyland type vibe.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And I was, but it's like really, really digging it, man. Like nice colors on the page, really. But like I said, I could definitely see someone like Doug TenNapel being an influence on a book like this, because this looks like a lot of his. I'm looking at this. It kind of reminds me of some of the other books. Creature Tech and some of the Metropolis and it does kind of have. I mean, Doug has a lot of children apparently, so it's,
geez, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's got a lot of books out there, but also
this is, I think, Earthworm Jim is number 20, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. I think I heard him say that.
Earthworm Jim is number 20, and this is actually, I know that's one of the things he said. This is actually his first take on Earthworm Jim, because they did an Earthworm Jim comic, which all of a sudden I've noticed the Earthworm Jim comic from like 15, 20 years ago or whatever, it's on eBay now, and everybody's like selling it for like trying to get 40, 50, 60 bucks for it. And it was done by it was written by Dan Slott. The Earthworm Jim comic that Marvel Comics put out was actually written by Dan Slott. It surprised me, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, wow. Doug had no real, from my understanding, Doug had no input on that comic book. But like I said, everybody's like, hey, Earthworm Jim, this is actually, even though this Indiegogo is actually Doug's first time actually doing Earthworm Jim in comic book form. He worked on the cartoon and obviously created the character and worked on the first 2 video games. But this is actually his first time actually being able to do a comic book on Earthworm Jim. I know he did the Evil the Cat thing or whatever, but was, and those books are on eBay, and I've noticed that they sell for like insane amounts when people, because they're like extremely rare. I think he said he only printed a couple thousand.
Jeez.
And
that's fascinating.
Doug's been on a few times and stuff. And and like I said, Doug drives me nuts sometimes, but because I was like, Doug, why did you do that? Doug, why? I was like, Doug probably gets on my nerves when I hear Doug say some crazy stuff, and I'll text him. I was like, Doug, come on, man, what are you doing? But then sometimes I say something and he don't like it, and he'll be like, Antonio, what's going on, man? So
right. That's how artists are, man. I mean,
I'm just being, but that's the thing. Me and Doug are cool, but Doug knows that he does some stuff that I don't agree with, and obviously we disagree on subjects like Ethan Van Sciver and stuff like that. Sure. And I was just, but it's weird because I wouldn't know Doug TenNapel without Ethan Van Sciver. That's why
that's interesting. Yeah,
but that's the thing. But the Doug I know, and as a lot of people just watch Doug on YouTube, I can actually pick up the phone and call Doug and and have the this, my access to him is different. I see him as a different type of individual, so, and he's been nothing but gracious to me and helped me, and and that's the Doug I know, but the other Doug is Doug too. So
yeah,
so if you get the dirt worm Doug or the tapeworm Doug or whatever other nickname you have for him, that's Doug too. But yeah,
but
Doug,
hey, you can't deny, man, the guy is he's worked so hard to make his dreams reality, so it's just kind of inspiring to.
When he told me, when he finally, because he had been mentioning, that's the thing, a lot of people didn't, because they don't get to talk to Doug privately, they didn't know that he was trying to get the Earthworm Jim rights back or whatever. So he was letting us know, he's like, oh, I think I got it. He'd been, he had mentioned, but hey, don't say nothing, but I might be able to get the Earthworm Jim. So he got the rights back to do the comics, right? So at that point, I told him, I said, man, I think he's gonna do about $300,000-$400,000. I was telling him that. I thought it was because I was an Earthworm Jim fan from like 25 years ago. So I was like, hey, yeah, you're gonna make $300,000-$400,000. He said, I'm gonna make $1 million. And I was like, $1 million? Get out of here, Doug. What are you talking about? And
he was right, pretty much.
$800,000. I mean, he didn't make $1 million, but over $800,000 is incredible. I was blown away. I just, like I said, I told him, I said, hey, yeah, I think you do about $300,000-$400,000.
For sure. That's just funny, man. That's all. I mean, I think it's because people have nostalgia, and like, even when I was scrolling on Facebook, it was this summer, when that campaign was going, it was like you would see a sponsored ad of Earthworm Jim, and that's how I actually found out about it. And so it wasn't like through you guys or through anybody, or even going on Indiegogo. It was like, man, this is Earthworm Jim. I remember playing that on the Sega Saturn at my cousin's house. Like,
yeah, I had the Sega CD version of it.
Oh yeah,
I had the Sega CD, and it was the like extended edition or whatever, and it had like an extra level that wasn't in the cartridge game and everything. But it's so crazy. I did not realize, because you go on YouTube and there's like a ton of Earthworm Jim video game videos and stuff.
Yeah, people are legit into it. Like, it's like Banjo-Kazooie. It's right next to that.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie. I remember that game.
People are like so into that. It's like, actually, I was surprised they didn't make a new one, which is like, well, I guess I'm never gonna make it now because Doug owns the rights. But it's it's cool, because I think one of the reasons for that success is people were just like, what, like Earthworm Jim comic book? Like, no way, and it's made by the guy who created it. It's like.
And that's what I was saying, because like the Marvel comic one, although I did think, I was like, maybe I should get the Marvel comic and just drive to Doug's house and have him sign my comic, because that would be, I don't know, I'm sure he's probably signed a few of the Earthworm Jim comics in it, but I don't see a bunch of them on eBay, so I suspect they'd be very rare to actually have the Earthworm Jim comic actually signed by Doug TenNapel.
Yeah, that would be rare.
But like I said, Dan Slott wrote it though, so it was like Dan Slott wrote it, and I was like, wow. But I mean, it really, the fact, that's one of the things that threw me off, because I was like, okay, so Dan Slott really did have to grind when he got to Marvel. They would just have him do like fill-in fluff. It's like, hey, we got an Earthworm Jim comic, and I think it was like 3 or 4 parts. It was, there was a couple of issues of it, but everybody's selling the #1, and I was like, well, he had to struggle. And then, he did okay on it. I guess good enough where they gave him more work. But I mean, now, he makes a ton of money now. But I bet he barely got paid to write that.
I actually, I really liked when Ethan. I mean, I know this was like forever ago now, but when Ethan did those interviews with Mark Waid, it's so weird seeing now what's transpired. But like Dan Slott, like those were great interviews, by the way.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the thing. Dan had kind of made me hate him, and when he was on Ethan's channel, he was kind of charming and stuff, and I was like, and he talked about the Silver Surfer series.
Oh yes, I loved him.
That he did. What's the guy that did Mad Men? I can't. That was the artist on there.
I'm trying to think of his name. He's doing the Davey Bowie book now.
Yeah. But he had so he did that Silver Surfer thing with him. And I went on Amazon and I was about to order it. And then he did something dumb on Twitter again. And I was like, oh, never mind. I was actually gonna buy his work. I was like, that's interesting. Let me read this book. And so I thought, like I said, Dan did himself a lot of good on Ethan's channel, and then he just went right back to being a jerk again.
I gotta say, the only thing I like by him is what was it? Superior. Oh my God, Superior Spider-Man, man, that is a dope. Say what you will about the man, but Superior Spider-Man is dope.
I don't know. I know a lot of people that love Superior Spider-Man, but that story just kind of. Although I was watching the Comics Explained video, he did a whole he took all the parts and compiled it. It's like an hour-long video or whatever of the different parts of the story. He was like, so we're gonna pick up where issue 2 on Superior Spider-Man. And he's doing the whole thing, and that storyline was controversial, but it's still. Yeah. And now they've got another. I've noticed. What was it? Because I saw your boy Zach reviewed a couple weeks ago. They've launched a separate book where I guess he cloned Dr. Otto Octavius cloned Peter Parker's body and mixed it with his DNA. So it's like he's a clone of Peter Parker with the spider powers plus his DNA. And so now he's got a brand new healthy body instead of that fat body that he had for. Yeah. Okay.
It gets a little too complicated, Yeah. It's like they just don't know where to take Peter Parker, It's just after he's like 22 years old, Peter Parker becomes kind of hard to deal with, Like once he's out of school.
Well, yeah, I think it's called the Superior Octopus or something.
Yeah.
It's like, so he's out like in the West Coast somewhere, like in San Francisco or something, and he's got like a super octopus suit that kind of looks like Spider-Man suit. It's kind of like the suit I saw looked kind of like an Iron Spider Spider-Man octopus. It's got the octopus tentacles, and I was like, okay. And I was like, once you give Otto Octavius like super strength and stuff, it kind of ruins what I don't know. You fundamentally change the character.
You do, yeah. I think so too. Yeah, but whatever. Marvel, just they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Vazikazi said mixed DNA is a child of Peter. That's why I was like, I thought it, but I mean, to me, it sounded like a clone because it's part Peter's DNA and part Otto Octavius's DNA, and then he takes that body so he can put. I don't know. Like I said, that stuff got weird to me because I was like, that's not Dr. Octopus. He's a fat guy with the tentacles. And now they've got him kind of looking like he's all slender and good looking. It's like it was right when the Clone Saga happened, and it was crazy. I was arguing with some people about do they like Ben Reilly and I was like, Ben Reilly made me stop reading Spider-Man for a decade.
Oh yeah.
I stopped. And then J. Michael Straczynski came in, and J. Michael Straczynski came in and started working on it, and he had a great run on Spider-Man. I was buying all those trade papers because I'd stopped buying. I have 6 boxes of comic books in my 6 long boxes in my closet, and every time I had to move, it was a pain in the ass having to haul all those heavy ass comics. So I said, man, let me just buy the graphic novels because I don't like buying the book and then having to wait a month to get the next part of it. I want to be able to get the whole thing. So at that point, I started reading. I started going on Amazon, and I was buying J. Mike. I'd read 3 or 4 different collected editions of J. Michael Straczynski.
Oh, I love that run.
And then so I said, oh well, I finished those 3. Let me order a couple more. I had a good job, so I was just ordering. I'm like, you look at and now I got a bunch of graphic novels in my closet instead of the long boxes. Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah,
man, so that's hard to find, man. They don't reprint that Straczynski. I had to find that at a con or something like that. Same with the Marvel. I found it on
Amazon, but like I said, it's been. I don't think it's currently in print, but everything I found is still on. Yeah, I had like they did the what was it, Spider-Man or what was it or the one where they came out with the organic webbing and all that. Because they were trying to do what the movie did with the organic webs, And the One, I think it was called, the Spider-Man the One or something, and Spider-Man went in this cocoon, and then all of a sudden he came out and I understand why they did that, but once you take the web shooters away from Spider-Man, you take away something, because I understand when they did the character Spider-Woman that they were like, oh, okay, well, let's just make her be able to shoot webs, but there was so many. I have so many great memories of Spider-Man like being broke as hell. Peter's broke, and so he has to buy cheap webbing. He had to buy like cheaper chemicals. He's like, oh man, I need this chemical to make my web fluid, but I don't have enough money. But this is a decent substitute for, I'll just get some cheaper chemicals, and then he'd web the criminals up and they'd just be able to break out of the webbing and stuff like that.
I love that. Yeah.
So once you start doing organic webs, it takes away from that. And so that's why I was glad they went back to but that's what I'm saying. And I remember when I talked to Ethan was like, these characters are going to change and evolve over the decades. Some of these characters are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and you have to be able to change them. And I get that, but when you make such drastic changes, that was one of the things I noticed about the Clone Saga. Okay, they were trying to build up that new villain, Kane, that was again another clone of Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
So they to prove that Kane is a badass, he has to, and the same thing they did with Ben Reilly. Peter struggled to beat Venom, so Ben Reilly has to be able to easily defeat Venom.
Yeah.
And Ben Reilly has, Peter just has his web shooters. Ben's got all the extra stuff. He's got spider stingers and all this extra gear. They're supposed to be the same guy with the same powers, but now, Ben was he thought a little more differently than Peter, so he had to come up with extra stuff. So yeah, he's got the external shooters with the stingers and all this, and same with Kane. Like they made Kane went and he killed he killed Kraven the Hunter, although I think it was Alexei Kravinoff, the son, because the daughter was Kraven. Like they kept doing all this, they kept bringing back the villains and killing them, and there's been like 3 or 4 Mysterios. They had Otto Octavius died, and then one of his proteges, some crazy woman, became Dr. Octopus, and then I was just like, they can't, and I understand that the plan was to pass the mantle off to Ben, so they were like, well, let's just make sure he has his own Rose Gallery instead of Spider-Man's Rose Gallery. But at the same point in time, when you look at the situation, they're saying Ben Reilly was the real Spider-Man. He wasn't a clone, and that Peter Parker was the clone. Mm-hmm. So they had a new Vulture, but that Vulture was really the original Vulture, but he had figured out how to de-age himself, so he was a young man with hair, and he had I was like, they took all the Spider-Man villains and they either killed them or they made different versions of them.
Osborn and Hobgoblin and that whole craziness. It's just like no one even can get it straight, it seems like.
Yeah, that's why I was like, man, and then okay, so they had there was a 4-part miniseries where Spider-Man or Peter Parker and Mary Jane, they had to get out of New York so that Ben could be Spider-Man, right? So and he dyed his hair blonde, because that's the thing I've been wanting to get Dan Jurgens on, because I would love to talk to him about when he took over. He left DC and came over to Marvel to write Spider-Man. I've got to ask him, so you come over to write Spider-Man and it's not Spider-Man. What's that like? I mean, don't you think that's an interesting question?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Dan Jurgens, he's a cool guy. That is a guy that.
So if I go to DC and I'm writing Superman and they go, oh well, he's not really Superman. That's strange to me, because they made a big deal. There was a big article featuring, and he was talking about the direction he was going to take Spider-Man in, and his Spider-Man wasn't Spider-Man. It was a clone. It was Ben Reilly, and then they had him. He had Ben dye his hair blonde, and it was strange. He was blonde, and then he was working. He was like working at a cafe or something. There was this like black couple that owned a cafe, and he was like washing dishes and waiting tables in there. And I was like, so he's not a photographer? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that changes some things too.
Yeah, it was strange. So I bought the first couple of issues, and then I just was like, yeah, I was out. It was weird, but they had sent Peter over to, I guess, Portland or Salem or wherever. He was out in the West Coast, up in the Pacific Northwest with Mary Jane, and then and he did like one. It was a miniseries called like One Last Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure that's in trade paperback as well, where you can get all 4 parts. Yeah, he did a story where he didn't like all of a sudden Peter didn't have his Spider-Man suit, but he had the web shooters or something. It was strange. And Mary Jane's pregnant, and they're just trying to, he's like, hey, I'm gonna be a dad. Blah blah blah. Blah. Hey, I'm a clone, but I'm gonna be a dad. So it's gonna be strange. And I was that whole thing is weird for me. I was like, and then so people were upset when they finally revealed that Peter Parker was the clone and that he wasn't the real Spider-Man that they had been, because even though they were saying it was only 5 years in the book, it had been like 25 years for the fans. They were, it was like, this has happened like 20, 25 years ago or whatever. And it was like, so you telling me the Spider-Man I've been reading for like the last 20 years is not really Spider-Man, he's a clone? Really?
That's so annoying though.
Yeah, and it really caused, and to me, that just left a bad taste in my mouth. And I had to back up off those books for a minute. And it really did damage to Marvel. I honestly believe that was one. It wasn't the only factor, but it was one of the mistakes that ended up with them having to sell the company and go into bankruptcy and stuff like that. Those were huge mistakes.
I mean, how can you just like say that about the hard work that people put into the character? Like, oh, it was all just not real. It's like that's so.
Well, the other thing, with they did this with Iron Man too, because they realized they couldn't really sell Iron Man, and the thing that they did was that they took Iron Man and turned him evil. I think I'm trying to remember, was it Immortus or Kang or something, and somehow he got corrupted. He became evil.
Oh, the Conqueror, or no.
Something happened, and Iron Man turned evil, and they had to stop him. So they had to go back in time and get an 18-year-old Tony Stark and bring him into the future. So,
that's a lot, yeah.
But see, the whole point of that was, one of the main things was they wanted to get rid of the fact. Remember, Iron Man had heart problems. That was one of the problems that they had. Iron Man, that was the big thing with him, and that's why he's got the little symbol on his chest and everything. Remember, that was the whole point. The grenade, I guess he had been over at Vietnam or whatever, Korea, whatever the hell, and the grenade exploded, and shrapnel from the grenade entered his heart, and he had to use the reactor or whatever to kind of pull it away, which they kind of followed up with that in the movies. And then, so that was the whole point. And even on those old Iron Man cartoons from like the 60s or whatever, where they were like, Tony Stark makes you feel he's the coolest man with a heart of steel. And I was like, they were using the Jack Kirby art. It was like steel motion or whatever they would take Jack Kirby's comic book art panels and like roto trace it. And then I love those cartoons. And those are cool. It's like, from the golden gates of Asgard. It was like, it'd be Thor, and then Captain America, boom, that kind of thing. And then they have the Hulk, the Dark Bruce Banner, pelted by gamma rays, turn into the Hulk. It was like, those were, I used to grow up and they would be showing those, early in the morning before I had to hop on the bus and go to school. So I really loved those little cartoons. But like I said, they took a lot of old Jack Kirby art, but that was one of the things, like Iron Man would have to like plug his suit. My heart is shutting down, and he had to plug. He plugged the suit. He had like a plug or something. He plugged it. Yes, I need to rest. The Iron Man suit. He's keeping himself alive. So one of the big things that was, they were like, okay, he's a multi-billionaire with all this technology, and he's got a heart. He's got a bad heart. But I thought that was a unique take, that even though he's rich, and then so all of a sudden they said this Tony Stark having a heart problem is stupid. So we're gonna go get his 18-year-old self, because his old self has turned into an evil guy, and he's too powerful. So we need the young Tony Stark to defeat the old Tony Stark. So they had to go and get the young, and so now he doesn't have heart problems. So
so then what's the point of the the middle piece. Then, right? It's like,
yeah. Once you start doing that, and then they realized that was stupid too, and once they realized it was stupid, they were like, then that's when the Heroes Reborn thing came.
oh well, I have to say I bought. I mean, I know it's not good, but the Jim Lee Fantastic Four. Oh my
dude,
god,
I was all in on Jim Lee.
the art is dope, though. I mean, the story sucks, but the art is dope.
Yeah, because I thought, what was it? Who did he do was it Scott Lobdell? I can't remember who he did the Fantastic Four with.
I think it was Brandon Cho. Or
that's who wrote Gen 13, which I gotta be honest, the art was great. Gen 13 was yeah. That's why a lot of those books don't really hold up now.
The art is just awesome. Yeah. I mean, J. Scott Campbell, he's a beast. I mean, he needs to get on. He needs to get on an Indiegogo book, and that would that would be successful for sure. And when Sean Gordon Murphy does his book, he's gonna.
Yeah, I know he's launching next year. I heard him say that. I was surprised when Doug tweeted out. He's like, "Hey, Sean Gordon Murphy's coming on my channel," and I was like, "But I know he's." You know what I'm saying? The one time I've had an interaction with Sean Gordon Murphy, I was in a private chat with him, and that was because Doug put me in there. I was like, it was crazy. All these other guys that were in there, they were like. Famous guys, had been on TV and printed books and stuff, and I was like a nobody in the room, and Sean Gordon Murphy's in there. And wow. I was like, the only reason I'm in here is because I'm cool with Doug, because I don't belong in here. I've never published anything.
That is so cool.
I'm not in like the Mystery Science Theater guy was in. I was like, how am I in here? And I was like, and then Sean Gordon Murphy talked in the chat, and I was like, oh my God. Sean Gordon Murphy, because Doug had mentioned, he's like, yeah, Sean was a fan of Earthworm Jim coming up as a kid, and so he like met him at a con or something. Sean was just he wasn't Sean Gordon Murphy then. He had just met Doug as a fan. Doug was like signing at a con, and he just came up to him and talked to him. He was just, and obviously they're friends now, so so it's. I know Doug for his birthday he drew like a Earthworm Jim watercolor for Sean Gordon Murphy and mailed it to him, and Sean was like blown away by it. He was like, damn, thank you, Doug. And he took a picture, he took I think it's page 5 from Batman White Knight and mailed it to Doug, and Doug has his fucking Jim Beam or whatever he's drinking and dripping alcohol juice on the pages, because I was like he to this day he does not, and I've talked to him. I was like, are you really not putting that in a protective case or framing it up? He's like, no, I'm not precious with artwork. Like, I was like, do you not understand how many people would love to have that page? I've seen those pages on eBay, and they're going for like $2,500, $3,000. Oh,
yeah, for sure. Same with Capullo. Like, that stuff goes crazy on.
Yeah, and I'm like, and here's Doug dripping like Jim Beam on the damn page and stuff. And I'm like, no, Doug, what are you doing? No.
Yeah.
I was like, it was driving me nuts. And even when I watched the stream where he had Sean on, and he just took the thing, he keeps it right by his desk, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I know people freak out when I handle this art and everything. I was like, that's like page 5 from one of the greatest Batman stories in the last decade. What are you doing? Stop it. Stop, Doug. And I actually DM'd him. I was like, dude, why are you not protecting that art? And he's like, no, I need to study it. I need to draw. I was like, can't you put it in a protective case and study it? He's like, no, I need to feel it. I need to run my hands all over it and all. I was like, oh God, no. That just drives me nuts. But but Sean's like, hey man, I gave it to you. Do what you want with it. And I was like, but that thing's worth a couple grand. And Doug's like, let me dribble some Jim Beam on it.
I haven't read his new book, but I know it looks good. It looks really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. They've got some digital, but I'm waiting until they put the whole thing in trade paperback, and then I'm as soon as it gets in trade paperback, I'm ordering what's it, Curse of the White Knight or whatever. And I was like, everybody's loving it. I mean, but I know his contract with DC's up next year, and he said he's gonna do a crowdfund.
Yeah, he should wait for the third. He should wait because he said it's a trilogy, right? So he should be like gonna do Curse, then do crowdfunding, and then come back. You know what I mean?
What I think he's gonna do is crowdfund and then make his money, and then he'll be like, all right, I'm ready to come back.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna take a little break and he's gonna come back. because that's all. He's just waiting on his contract to lapse so he can do what he wants. Once he takes care of that business, he'll be like, all right, DC, cut me a fat ass check again. And I mean, because they have to pay him like $300,000-400,000 to write these books. They make a killing off of his books. His books actually.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. And like Batman White Knights, New York Times bestseller for weeks. I mean, he was killing the game.
Quality books really make a difference in sales. Like,
Yeah. I mean, his stuff consistently sells. So, what's the other one he had that a lot of people talk about? Was it Tokyo?
Yeah.
I haven't read that one. I know Doug's got a copy of it, but I need, and he had I think it was a Rock and Roll Jesus as well, and
Punk Rock Jesus.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I need to check those. I see those being offered on, because I bought his stuff on Amazon. Like they'll be like, you bought that book, why don't you buy this? But I definitely need to check out Tokyo Ghost. A lot of people have told me that book is dope, so I need to check that out for sure. And so that's on my pull list on Amazon. I'm reading some stuff right now, and then when I get done with that, I'll order some more graphic novels and stuff. So that's definitely, man, I just, like I said, I like the book, but the one thing that I'm definitely enjoyed reading a few times is Bitterroot. Bitterroot from Sanford Green and David Walker, and I can't remember. It's three guys, the two writers in Sanford Green, which I love Sanford Green. And he was gracious enough. I sent him a DM, and he was gracious enough to come on this channel, and I had a conversation with him for an hour. It was really cool. I was like, man, that's Sanford Green. And, and they end up selling the rights to Bitterroot to HBO, and I was like, wow. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, he put it out at Image, and I was like, man, this book is dope. I was reading it. I was like, man, this is dope. I was like, how did you create this? It really blew. Yeah. And I was like, it's got like it's set in the Harlem Renaissance, but it's got like steampunk vibe in it. And Sanford, you can tell, like Sanford's art looks energized. I think although he really looked like he was having fun drawing Power Man and Iron Fist and Luke Cage as well when he was over there at Marvel. He looked like, because he was, they were using, I remember the actor, I can't remember, what's the guy, Michael something, the guy that played Luke Cage. He actually held up one of the Sanford Green comics, and they were shouting each other out and everything. And I was like, oh, that is so dope. I think he's from South Carolina, like Sanford is, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that guy, I think the guy, although he's got a new show on, I think, is it called Evil? That's coming up on CBS.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And it's kind of like X-Files, but he's playing the priest, and then the other lady is like the skeptic character. He's playing the priest. I'm definitely wanting to check it out, though. Evil looks really interesting, but I actually like Luke Cage. I was kind of sad when they decided, like, Netflix was like, yeah, or I guess Marvel decided, hey, we don't want to. I know they want to move all those shows over to Disney Plus, though.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we're not going to take them anymore, but they're going to be moved. Yeah. So it's
because they got Vision and Scarlet Witch, which apparently, from everything I'm seeing on the Vision and Scarlet Witch show, they're going to use some of the Tom King story.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, that's one of the best things.
Like that, but they hate Tom King's Batman, but they love his what's the guy that escapes everything? Okay, Scott Free. Mr. Yeah. He won like Eisner for that, but they like his stuff. They would like, but that Heroes in Crisis,
that's donkey crap.
Dude, you really screwed the pooch with that, brother. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah. I was on board with his Batman, when he had David Finch on, like, man, this is dope. Like, I get it's not Grant Morrison, but it's okay. And then the second story, okay, we got this guy, I forget his name, but that story when they break into Santa Prisca, I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Is that I Am Bane?
Yeah. And then the third one was dope too. And then honestly, I dug the Board Jokes and Riddles. I thought it was like a really
cool. I did too.
Because it was like a dope way to like condense No Man's Land, right? Like No Man's Land into just like one book. Like if you were going to condense it into 5 issues and then have a completely different concept, like that's how you do it. But then after the wedding, man, it's like, what happened? Like,
and it started going downhill right before the wedding, but I was looking forward to the wedding.
Yeah. It's just like, how do you fuck up so bad?
Yeah, they were like, surprise, bitch, there ain't no wedding. And then the whole thing just got really weird for me. And I was like, oh man. And then he's going to do 100 issues of this.
Yeah,
and he still had 50 more issues. And I was like, and so when they finally tapped him on the shoulders, like, look, man, it's not working. We gotta.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
I mean,
I felt bad.
Well, I did too. But when you start looking, there was like a cat. There was like a Black Cat comic that sold more than Batman, and that was something Ethan said. He said that's a travesty right there. He said Batman. He's like Batman consistently is $100,000 book. You know, it's like it sells 100,000 copies every month. You know, it's gonna, even on the low, it might do 80, 85, but it's gonna consist. And I was looking, and he had sales, and it was like 70,000 and stuff. It was like the sales were dropping. And I think Rob Liefeld even said something. Some people got mad at Rob for even speaking. It was like, you throw another creator under the bus. But it was like he just lost like the fundamental understanding of what Batman is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it really surprised me. And then they're like, well, we're going to let him do this like Batman Catwoman miniseries or whatever. So,
well, Clayman's got some awesome art. At least you can get some good posters out of it. Like,
that was the thing, because when I heard about Heroes in Crisis and Clayman, I was like, yo. And then what was it when they took the Poison Ivy cover that Clayman did, which was dope, and then they had another artist redraw it because they said he drew a dead woman too sexy.
Yeah, like what? That's so dumb. And
yeah,
everything with that final our Heroes in Crisis, he said it was going to be something that it wasn't. Like, he said, oh, it was going to have to do with, you know, this thing called Sanctuary, and has nothing to do with Harley Quinn. Like, what? How does she have any consequence? I mean, she's, they're
gonna put it out in there's a trade paperback if it's not out already, because I had planned on ordering it, but now, you know, after I started seeing some of the single issues, I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to read the collected edition of this.
Right. There's this thing with DC too. They'll be like, oh yeah, we got, you know, Jim Chang on Justice League, and then next week we have this no-name artist who's 10 times worse than Jim Chang, and he doesn't. You know, it's like, dude, why? I'm not gonna buy your Justice League trade if it's only one issue of Jim Chang, which is possibly one of the best comic artists ever, and then some guy who's like totally just did it, you know, in a week. You know, it's like, this is you can't make trade paperbacks like that. That's why Sean Gordon Murphy totally succeeds, is because, you know, that consistency of quality. It's just better, you know. So it goes to show you that those books and those Star Wars books, man. Some of the artists in those Star Wars books, geez, man, not good, you know. So it's like Marvel really needs to kind of, well, DC too. They need to pick better artists, you know, make the books look all-star, you know.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, and especially if the book's coming out on monthly schedule, they try to get guys that may not be great, but they're able to meet a deadline. Because that's one thing, you know, Ethan said a few times that he's like, look, I can't do a book I can't do monthly deadline like that. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beauties of him just being able to crowdfund and make money. He was just like, he said, I'm just not a monthly guy.
Well, Ethan's never been the filling guy. He's always been, man, we're going to give you Batman. You know, when they had that Batman book.
In Marvel, he was. I mean, that's where they brought him in on New X-Men with Grant Morrison. He was there to fill in for Frank Whiteley, and then he was only supposed to do what he said. It was supposed to be just 4 issues, and then it became 6. Then they was like, can you do 6? He was like, no, I can't do 6 issues. What are you doing?
It's such a good job, though. And
really did. That's the thing. Ethan's made an impact everywhere he goes.
Oh, for sure. With Batman, his Batman story is like his it's a Clayface story, I think, or something like that. And he wrote it.
Are you talking about Batman Superman stuff, or are you talking about the stuff he did? Because he took over
the Batman, The Dark Knight, New 52.
Yeah, that was that was the book that they gave to David Finch when he left Marvel.
That's right. It was a book that was more dedicated to art. You know, the art was, because the story wasn't amazing with those David Finch stuff, but Ethan had the story and the book or the art down. Because who was writing? It was Paul Levitt or something like that.
Well, I know one of the guys. I can't remember the guy's name. He's like wrote New York Times bestsellers.
Yeah, he's like a politician. He's not a politician, but he's really into politics or something. Ethan had him on his show once or something.
Yeah. He wrote Penguin. What was it? That Penguin Love and War.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that Mad Hatter story. Now that's what I was actually looking. I was looking, and you can get that on Amazon. That was the thing. You can actually get it because they did this really crazy Mad Hatter story where Jarvis Tetch, it was he hurt some woman again. He fell in, another woman was Alice, and he has this pattern where he just falls in love with, this is Alice, and then everything's, and then she obviously is creeped out by him, and he ends up hurting her and stuff by, he doesn't mean to hurt her, and he ends up hurting the woman. And Ethan, they drew this really gruesome thing because when Batman saw that he had hurt this woman, and Batman snapped and just beat this dude bloody. I was just and you can tell it was crazy. But the panels that Ethan showed, I was like, wow, I would love to own some original art from that, because Mad Hatter is kind of hit and miss for me, and I just
that's one thing I wish I could see Ethan back on Batman or something like that,
I don't still, just from talking to him, I just don't think he wants to do his own stuff. He doesn't want to.
He's been in the industry for so many years now. I mean, he's literally had the chance to do everything, literally everything. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some characters that he might want to do again, for the first time.
The thing I want to see is the stuff that he's shown that never got published, the War Composite story. That's the story. All the stuff that he showed, it was supposed to bring Plastic Man back into the DC universe. And he's shown pages. I don't know if he actually has any of the original art or if he sold it. I know he's got scans of the art because when he showed it on the YouTube, I think he was just showing scans. But he might have some of those original. But he showed the War of the Composites. He showed Hawkwoman, so it's half Hawkman and half Aquaman. I was like, the shit was dope, man. I was like, oh, Hawkman. I was like, yeah, I was geeking out looking at all that. But it was supposed to be him and Gail Simone on War of the Composites. They were friends. And
laughing at it now, oh my god. But hey, she retweeted my project, so
Oh, Gail Simone retweeted your project?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
See, it was crazy. I remember. I think it was Nasser, and he got. It wasn't. I think he got Heather. He got Heather Antos too. It was strange.
Yeah.
And let me see. Brian Christow in the chat, he says the best Mad Hatter story was the one Joe Lansdale did for the animated series where Bruce Wayne wakes up and discovers his parents. That's a great story. That's great.
Dreams of Darkness, right? That's what that's called.
Yeah. Because I remember, Bruce Wayne, all of a sudden he had everything he wanted. And it was just, but then he was like, something's wrong. But it's kind of a take on the. If I'm being honest, that's not very original. You have to kind of credit Alan Moore's for the man who had everything. If you look at it, that's okay. Look at For the Man Who Has Everything by Alan Moore. Okay, it's a Superman story. Kal-El wakes up. He's on Krypton. His parents are still alive. He's got a wife and everything. He's got everything. But Batman and Wonder Woman are trying to give him they're trying to give him a present or whatever. They're going to the Fortress of Solitude to hook up with him, and they don't know really what to get him. They find out that this virus plant thing had leashed on, but that's that Batman the Animated Series story is clearly inspired by Alan Moore. For sure. Because it's the same premise. Bruce Wayne wakes up, he's got everything that he wants. His parents haven't been murdered, all this kind of, it's like, so he's got everything there. And all of a sudden, then it's the same situation with Clark Kent, Kal-El. He was like, I've got everything I want, but something's wrong.
Man, Mad Hatter's one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite of the Rogues Gallery, because he's so. Yeah, well, he's always the character who's helping, for example, in The Long Halloween, he's helping the Scarecrow, he's always helping somebody. But when he gets when he gets to actually, because what didn't Scott Snyder do a story with Mad Hatter? No, maybe he didn't. I don't think he did. But I don't know. He's a good character, though. I think he's a pretty good character. It's just there's one story that Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale did with him in their Halloween collection, Fears, or it was one of them. You know what I'm talking about? That was a good story, though. I mean,
I meant to tell you the guy that we were talking about, the guy that was writing the Batman detective thing with the Dark Knight or whatever with Ethan. That was, Greg Hurwitz.
Yes, Greg
and
Hurwitz.
like I said, he's had like TV and Greg wrote that Mad Hatter story, and he wrote that great Penguin story, which his Penguin story. He had some Russian artist, had a really funky, unique style. I can't remember the set, just something. I can't remember the guy. I mean, real dark and gritty type style. But the Penguin story he wrote, that's probably the best Penguin story that's been written within the last, say, 20, 25 years.
Oh, yeah. Penguin's just a character. Like, there's so many of the Rogues Gallery that they need a story for the contemporary age. Like, Clayface, he needs a new story. Mad Hatter, like you said, Penguin, they're great characters, It's like everyone's like Joker, but Two-Face, I mean, he's got such a great Rogues Gallery that it's like there's so much you can do, Like that's why Batman's just dope. Like
even like you take Paul Dini and Bruce Timm on Batman the Animated Series, and like what they did with Mr. Freeze, like I love Mr. Freeze now. He was like a D-list Bat villain. He was a Z-list Batman villain. It was lame. It's so lame, in fact, that in the second Joker miniseries, the second Robin miniseries that was written again by Chuck Dixon, they actually let the Joker kill Mr. Freeze. He like squirted him with the acid flower. And expose his things. I have that issue.
Yeah, that sounds like a Nightfall.
No, it was. He did the first Robin. This was the Tim Drake Robin.
Oh, so like Norm Brayfogle era, like Batman Robin.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. It was Tom. I'm trying to remember who Tom something that. Matter of fact, they just said he had a stroke or something the other day.
Oh, Todd. Yeah. Todd.
Yeah, because he actually was the guy that designed the Scarlet Spider costume when he hopped over to Marvel. And he was the guy that designed the Scarlet Spider costume. But he was the one that illustrated he was the artist on the 4-issue Robin miniseries, and then he took over when they launched. It was such a success, they launched Robin solo series, and he was the artist on that. And Chuck Dixon was the writer. So, but that first Robin miniseries was dope. I loved it. Second one was okay. But that first one with what was the guy? King Snake or whatever. King, he was a blind guy, but he had like all this. Yeah, I thought that he was an interesting villain.
Oh, yeah, the art was amazing, too.
But then they brought him back into the main comics, and then he was like watered down, and it was kind of, he wasn't, when I saw him in the Robin miniseries, he was dope. I was like, oh, man, that dude is dangerous.
Yeah, and the art on that book was just fantastic too. I mean,
and so when you look, I can't remember that guy's name, Tom something or whatever, and he was the artist on the Spectacular Scarlet Spider. Like when they spun all the, like they said for this month, all the Spider-Man titles will become Scarlet Spider titles. And so it's the Amazing Scarlet Spider, the Spectacular Scarlet. Like I said, they milked the Tom Lyle. There you go. Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. That's why I love the chat, man. I love the chat. But the chat, Tom Lyle. But he worked with Chuck Dixon on the Robin and Robin, what was it? Robin 2 Joker's Wild, which I collected the first issue of Joker's Wild because it had all the hollow covers. They all had like Joker playing cards, and they had.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like it was crazy. So different. They had different. One was like Batman. One was Robin. Like it had the Joker's like holding up a card, and then they had like a hollow foil thing on it. And so like it would like it was Prism. But I mean that was back in the day, right before the comic bust, and like you had all these chromium covers and mirror foil and all this. But I wanted those covers because there was a couple of them that were harder to get than others. It was like when Rob Liefeld had X-Force #1, and then there were a couple of cards that everybody had, and they were the most common ones. And then there was a couple, like there was a Deadpool card, and I have the one I have is the Shatterstar, That was the one I wanted because you could actually see through the foil which one, the little plastic wrap, you could see which one you were getting. And I got I was a big fan of Shatterstar, so I was like, I want the Shatterstar one. And so I wish I had gotten the Deadpool one, but he wasn't that popular then. Everybody forgets that Deadpool wasn't always popular. I have New Mutants number 98 though, which I'm very thankful. It's not. I wish it was graded, but I have New Mutants 98, and maybe I need to get it pressed. I've got it bagged and boarded. I need to probably send it to a professional, have it pressed, and have it graded, and that would be awesome. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I see those books. Going for all kind of money, but whew, man, Ryan, I could talk to you all day, brother. It's been fun chopping it up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And like I said, your project looks really, really cool, guys. Check it out in the description there. It's on Kickstarter. You know, help this brother out, man. He needs to, you know, like I said, I saw a lot of y'all in the chat going, man, this book looks really cool. You know, this is just me. I want you guys, if you like something, you know, put your dollars behind it. You know, don't go, oh, it's not on Indiegogo, so I can't back it. If you think it's good and you've enjoyed this conversation that Ryan and I have had, you know, if you you know, care about comics, which a lot of you do, that's why you're here. You know, find it in your heart to support these projects, man. Because like I said, there's a couple other guys that have Kickstarter projects that I think look really cool, and I'm going to invite those guys on, and I hope, you know, that you won't hold them responsible. There's some jerks at Kickstarter, but those aren't the creators. Those are the people that are behind the scenes running things and stuff. And yeah, they do some gatekeeping, but yeah, don't penalize Ryan for what those guys did. So that's just my VR. You know, the head stand soapbox. That's Antonio's soapbox. So yeah, if you like books like BRIC-A-BRAC, whether they're on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, please, you know, show him some love and support this book, man. You know, he deserves to get funded. It looks like a really quality project. Ryan, I really appreciate your time today. It's been a privilege to talk to you. I've enjoyed it. How can they reach out to you if they want to?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, and I'm trying to make more YouTube videos, and you know, try to engage more with people. So you know, just look up my name, and it's also connected to the campaign. I also suggest following Raphael because you know his Instagram game is crazy. You know, you have to check.
I'm looking him up. I'm going to follow him after this.
Yeah, you got to check out his you know, he does like wacky races drawings. He drew the Powerpuff Girls. He drew, you know, he likes to draw kid versions of Marvel characters that are amazing, like Fantastic Four, which is how I saw him, or X-Men, and then he drew recently, you know, all those guys from, you know, what is it, the Spider-Man animated movie?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. He just did and you can buy them from him probably on his online store. All these new, and he did like the Flintstones and Weapon X. Like he does all these cute little. He's amazing. So he's a great artist, and it's a privilege to be able to work with him. And also, thank you for giving me a platform to talk about this book. It's been really fun to talk with you.
I've enjoyed having you here, man. Whether you get funded, like I said, if you don't get funded this time, don't give up, man. Because trust me, like I said, this is round 3 for me, and finally it broke through. Don't give up, because I think this is a project that should stand on its own merit. And so sure. I really hope. Well, first of all, I hope you get funded on Kickstarter now. Hopefully, within these last few days of your campaign, people will see it and they will show it and retweet it. Get that word out there.
It's a humble goal. Like, it's not a crazy goal. It's not like, oh, I want 15,000. It's like just 6,000. You know, it's not.
That first time I put mine up, I tried to raise 30 grand, and there was no way I was getting. I was like, I just did the stuff I did all the time. It was, you know, I don't know, but like I said, I think your book looks really cool, and you know, I appreciate you coming on, and we should talk again.
Yeah, for sure, man. When my next project comes out, or Yeah, man, I'm in this. I'm dedicated. I'm in. You're gonna know this face. You're gonna know this voice. Get used to me.
There you go. That's what I like to hear, man. Because you need to be like Gilbert. Gilbert Deltrez will tell you, man. He really, he's a go getter, man. He sticks to his gun. He keeps hustling. That's one of the things I respect about him. So,
dude, he is a hustler, man. And he totally, he reached out to me and said, hey, man, just keep striving, go down in the DMs. It's hard work, but you can get it, So just working on it. And yeah, Gilly is awesome. He's a
and absolutely. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up. My thanks again to the great Ryan Haack. I hope I said that.
Yes, right. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate giving me a platform and everything. It's been super cool.
All right, but we're going to get out of here. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on this YouTube channel, everywhere is at Akari Press. And if you type in akaripress.com, it will take you directly to my Indiegogo campaign for my comic book series brand with the phenomenal Kanan White. We're on Teespring. We're on Amazon.com. The links to those are in the description. Back BRIC-A-BRAC, guys. It deserves it. Please, I'm out.